So, one of the things that annoys me about seeing prisons in fiction is if you want to keep someone contained on a planet, just just stick them in a fucking room with very very heavy walls. Like there's absolutely no need to overcomplicate everything with shocking like a floor that shocks you to death. Like you have the room, you have the technology. Here's a cell built out of cob and stone, right? Here's a cell, little islands of a cell of cells. There's absolutely no reason to overcomplicate things, right? Just stick a floating platform somewhere surrounded by these little towers that are cells, right? And atop the cells is where you enter, or on the sides of the cells you enter, right? The platform leads you somewhere, you go through like a door-shaped opening, blah blah blah, you get through, right? It closes it off by moving like a very heavy thing. Or it just puts you on the tower and you have to descend using a rope. And if you want rainwater, you just go through the same, you have a central bucket. If you want to poop, use your water, right? Like here's some toilet paper, here's some soap, here's the water collection, or like a barrel of water to use for hygiene, right? You can stick the barrel on top or fill up the barrel on top, right? You wash yourself, blah blah blah. Here's a ration of meals bi-weekly, right? Your prisoner's fed, blah blah blah, etc. And yeah, like you could also just stick a radio in somewhere, or just stick a tablet behind like a thick sheet of glass and give them like a little keyboard, like a little mouse keyboard to just choose what he wants, or just give him a remote control and here's like a 55-inch TV behind glass and it's specifically limited to run on a specific system. And here's some books maybe. Laundry comes once a week or something like that, or once every 2 weeks or something like that. And you just, like, there's absolutely no reason to overcomplicate prisons if you're in a sci-fi setting. It's so very confusing because if you're in a sci-fi setting, you can make pretty much everything out of cob and stone and be done with it, right? You have super sophisticated robots. These super sophisticated robots can chop down stones in like brick shapes, or you can actually make actual bricks and make like little towers out of bricks, right? And if you try climbing down the towers, then you can have some ducks. Like ducks were used historically as animals that warn people about stuff, right? Like the less technologically sophisticated a prison, the harder it would be to escape from, right? And you just make it like a big wall surrounding the space, and add like a big ditch surrounding that wall and another wall surrounding that. So it's very hard to get out. Like we already know what the limits of human strength are. We already know what defenses were used to fight against people with limited human strength. We already know this stuff. There just isn't any reason to overcomplicate things. And I feel like the setting of a bunch of individual towers, they're basically just prison cells, is very interesting. Because how would you get out of that? If not without some sort of special biochemical advantage or something. Like maybe you have various islands of cells and you have to figure out a way to communicate with people in the outer cell blocks. Maybe you get up on the roof, you have some railing, you have a chair to sit down on, and you like say hello to your neighbors, you scream hello to your neighbors, and then you figure out that you can make like music, right? And you figure out that you can communicate using music, which barrels of drums were used in Africa as a very efficient form of long distance, long range communication. And a prisoner, knowing about music, could then pass a message on to his friend around the continent. Like 1,000 blocks away, he could send a message to his friend. And once his friend gets out, his friend can pass on the message. Right? And it could be like this whole thing about figuring out where the cell block of the friend is and then getting him out. And that's how you get out of this ridiculously hard to get out of prison, right? Or maybe you trick the system by telling him, yes, hello, I would like to launch to request an inquiry into my situation because I was supposed to be here for 4 months, but I've been here for like 4 years. And meanwhile, he's actually been there for like 3 months or 2 months. And people were like, well, this can't be. Our cameras show you being here like for 2 months or 4 months or whatever. And he's like, no, I think maybe if you look at the stars in the background, you could probably predict when exactly I came here, or blah, 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 and whatever, right? So his friends on the outside might hear that, or like he's only doing it himself, and he just bullshits the boss into letting him go, right? So he bullshits a fake clerical error, right? So he gets out 3.5 years early, because he knows how to lie convincingly, and the bosses don't trust technology, right? Like, I've been in this cell for like 4 years, and I was supposed to have a parole hearing after like 3.5 years. It's very strange. And people are like, our records suggest that you've been here for 4 months. And he's like, no, 4 months ago I got summoned to some random inquiry by the something division, and then I got brought back. Only I got brought back like a few cells away from where I was. I was actually like 4 cells to the right, 1 cell to the north, like map-wise. And people were like, well, this is very confusing. And I'm also waiting on information about my appeal, because I was supposed to have like an appeal. And people were like, you had an appeal? We don't see any records about an appeal. And they're like, according to this, you executed someone who molested your sister. And he's like, well, I executed someone who molested my sister, but I didn't get convicted on that. I got convicted on public intoxication and smashing some walls or something. That's what I understood the trial was going to be, and what I thought I was confessing to. And people was like, well, no, it says you confessed to killing the man who molested your sister. And he's like, no, I smashed a floating car into a wall after getting drunk and being like disorderly, because, I mean, I killed that guy in self-defense. Like, everybody back home knows it. So he bullshits his way out of prison. Like, that's like a story that I would watch. And like, sci-fi prisons are just repetitive and kind of cliche, I suppose.